Hello everyone! Thank you for joining Experimental Civics and our Design Thinking for Social Good series. This is Module 7, Criteria Check, and is one of the 6 design thinking tools that we will be sharing with you. If you have followed along from the beginning, this is also the final module in this series. We will be going through a criteria check that you need to be aware of when building a project, especially one that is hackable and easy to implement. What is the project's scope? A common question that some people tend to forget to ask is, does this make sense in the context? Essentially, it is important for your ideas to be relevant to the project. Likewise, you need to define project scope. Scope is the extent of the area or subject matter that something deals with or to which it is relevant. So, you need to do a self-check. Let's look at a possible scenario. There's an awesome virtual reality design for tackling disaster relief that sounds absolutely amazing. But, does it make sense for a project that is focused on quick implementation of upgraded training? It's true. It is a cool project and it should be considered. But, it's also safe to bet that scaling the idea to every public safety department and office across the country is not going to be a small feat. Also, not to mention finding the funds to implement in a local office to pilot the idea. It's going to take much more time, resources, everything. Instead, how about narrowing the project's scope? In this way, you focus on the core problem that you are trying to solve. Maybe it's an aspect of training that needs strengthening. Maybe it's a review of the disaster relief elements. Maybe it's about starting with a group of individuals who share their stories about what impacted them on the ground. What is the project's scalability? For this question, you need to determine whether the project is going to help a small number of individuals or the masses. So, take a moment and ask yourself, does this problem exist in different locations? For example, you found out that people in Barcelona or Tokyo were experiencing the same problem that you are trying to solve now. How would you begin to implement your solution there? How can we streamline those efforts as well as support your initiative? Is there a way that you are solving this problem for many people? How does your project shift when you widen the audiences that you are serving? Thinking about your project on a crazy big scale is overwhelming. We get it. It is also invaluable and deserves a chunk of your brainpower. We are a pinnacle in time where ideas can be communicated across borders with a single click or video call. We can leverage the power of that capability to design for all. Does your project address a civic need? When we are brainstorming, we love to stay right at the edge, or even go over it. This question will help you stay focused on the people who you are designing for. It will maintain a human-centered approach. Human-centered means designing for humans. You will have this mindset at every step of the process. Now, this doesn't mean being self-centered and concentrating on the problems that you are facing. Instead, it's examining how everyone collectively uses a product or feels about an experience, and how we can tailor it best for as many people as possible. We know that sounds nearly impossible, but you know what? In reality, it is possible. There are better ways to do things, and we simply have to identify, try, and experiment. What is the urgency? There are definitely times when a certain application is vital to the population and could really be a game changer. Like, maybe a public health product right before flu season, right? But most of the time, you can determine the urgency of a project by asking yourself and your team these questions. Why should this project be addressed right now? What is the level of urgency around this reason? Would this make a significant impact over the next 6 to 12 months if we started hacking this now? What about in the next 3 to 5 years? It's true, you won't have most of the answers now. Again, this activity is meant to help guide and shape your thinking, approach, and execution. The answers, realistic and hypothetical, will help you build things that are sustainable, which also means that there is room created for someone new to come in to grow and support your project. You will discover whether the time to begin is now or later, and if later, when. What skills are needed? When creating anything, you define your needs. Then you assess what you already have and what you don't, so you can fill in the gaps. Just like when cooking a meal, you gather your ingredients and equipment and go to the store if necessary. Taking inventory will govern the hackability of your project. Some "what do we need" questions may include: do you need a junior web developer who knows JavaScript frameworks? Do you need someone who has a detailed understanding of Tahina spectabilis? It's a species of Tahina palm typically found in Madagascar. A fun fact. Is there someone who has both skills? As random as a skill might sound to you, we know that everyone has something to contribute to a project. An extra team activity can involve sharing professional skills as well as personal interests. Hobbies involve specific abilities and knowledge too. There are definitely ways that we can harness the strengths of everyone in the team. Maybe you have the people who will build the project, but you are missing information about the users. Your first hurdle would then be finding those voices to shape your product and build personas from their input. Or, on the flip side, you have the human-centered design mapped out for your project and it's time to build it. But you don't have anybody on your team who knows AI. It's okay. You can work around items until it is crunch time. The bottom line is that it's always good to have a handle on what you might need, so when the time comes to make an ask, you're good to go. You know exactly what to say. What is the timeline? Timelines, deadlines, milestones. We certainly recommend that you have a solid understanding of what the timeline is, from inception to what happens after a launch. This is imperative to your project. When you think about designing products and services around people, it will likely take multiple prototypes and iterations to get the right fit for what you're trying to do. So, we want to emphasize being mindful of how long it takes to complete each task. Set realistic deadlines based on the skill set of your team. Add in time buffers if necessary. Everyone should understand the dates and expectations ahead of time. Open and honest communication is key. We want to ensure folks are making progress and have all the support they need to get their part done. Whether you are able to build the first phase or the entire thing in a series of sprints, or you might require a longer timeline, from a few months to even a few years, it's all good. The timeline sets the pace for you and your team. Is this project fun? Last but not least, our final takeaway for this criteria check activity is ask everyone, is this project fun? Sure, not all the tasks will be glamorous. It's also very easy to slip into grind mode without embracing what or who you are designing for and the impact that you will have after the fact. So we want people who are participating in your brainstorming session and shaping your project to be having fun, even if the topic is immensely sensitive. We have to open empathy-filled and respectful spaces where we can coexist as humans, listening to and learning from and with other humans. Conclusion. We have always found it to be a meaningful experience for all when people have the flexibility to explore new ways of creating solutions, experiment with their ideas in a safe environment, and literally play with the product with their team members. We've shared design thinking tools, activities, and ideas with you throughout this series. We intentionally included gamified methods that you can use to spark new levels of creativity. And to be honest, increase the comfort and camaraderie with your team members. Whether you've worked with them for decades or just introduced yourself 10 minutes into the hackathon, people are people. So have fun with design thinking, making progress, and working together to shape your communities for the better. Be proud, and we wish you good luck. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you are interested in our Civic Hacking series or in Experimental Civics blog, we invite you to check out our website, www.experimentalcivics.io, for a one-stop hub for all of these goodies. Thank you so much for listening in. If you love what you heard, please comment and share.